Hello,
Hi,
Ian.
how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Am I really quiet, by the way? Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, got it. My baby's asleep, so I like try to speak audibly but without yelling. So,
Gotcha. Yeah. Been
how was your
there.
day?
It's good. It's a good day.
Good.
My work is really chill these days. I'm trying to.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty niche position.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm starting to expand it, but like getting the meetings to get kind of the like some of the information I need to start running with the new thing
Mm,
is kind of
mm.
slow. But I do have a meeting tomorrow, so hopefully I'll be
Oh, good.
making
Excellent.
some reports and things here shortly. Fill my
Great.
time a little
Excellent.
bit more.
Yeah.
The whole trick at this job has just been like being bored, and then when they ask me like, hey, what have you been up to, and I'm like, well, I'm bored, if you could give me more, that'd be great. And then just like slowly incrementing adding more to my job, so it's cool.
Good. Good. Yeah, it's a good tactic. Yeah, I always take on as much as possible. That way I'm always busy.
For
Exactly that
sure.
same thing.
Yeah,
Just give me
i
more
hate
work. Yeah.
being I hate being bored. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Hi, Professor.
Well, hello,
hello,
Dave.
Olaf.
Yeah, Russian. Yeah,
Hagama. Papala.
good one, huh? I'll be
How
totally
would I
sure.
Lima.
say, how was your day? How would I ask, how was your day?
Kimmer an laget, or Kimmer va an laget. Kimmer va an laget.
Kunava and Lock it.
Yeah.
Gamarvala August. How was your
Uh-huh.
day?
Oh, wait, wait. But a Kimmer va an laget. Yeah, right there in chat. Okay. Kimmer va an laget. Like, come on. Let me train Fat-in-law. Let me Cooper Fat-in-law. I got a little behind on my class construction as uh, I usually like to finish the classes preparation on the weekend. Didn't do it this week. Well, I got tonight's class done, obviously. Okay. But then my tomorrow class didn't get done, and yesterday I had a dental appointment. So that kind of wiped me out. So I was left to do everything on that class today. So anyway, and make matters worse, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. So I had to figure that one out. So anyway, koyu. Rain me. So, koyu. So anyway, so, Will Naik ek Dunya be? No.
Can you, um, Hunik me, Hunik me, right? I saw.
Yeah, I saw.
Hunik me, Obair out in Ireland, out in
An an
on
Erin.
Erin, and it's
Uh-huh.
so close. It's
I hope
so
that's
close.
uh,
And
yeah.
it's from my same company, but in Ireland, and it's like so
Oh,
close.
okay.
I was telling my wife like it's just across the pond from where we want to be.
Just across the pond. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay. On an Erin, no, Erinatua. In Ireland,
Erinatua,
on an
Erinatua.
Erinatua?
Yeah,
Oh, well,
that's actually like a short ferry ride, right?
yeah, not only that, but it's in the same country. You see, Ireland would be a little tricky because, you have to cross the border. But Northern Ireland is the same country as Scotland. I mean, the United Kingdom.
Right.
So, yeah, so, you'd have a little bit of flexibility in terms of travel there. So, anyway, yeah. So, yeah, and then you might also be situated uh, to transfer. I mean, better situated to transfer if something came up,
Right. It would
closer
be
to where you
easier
want
to
to
get
be.
another job.
Huh?
It would be easier to get another job without
Right,
having
yeah,
to get
yeah.
sponsorship.
You don't already have, you already be situated. Well, oh yeah. But but as you said, your wife wants to finish her her veterinarian studies, right?
Well, she wants to eventually do that, but that's like a future
Oh,
plan.
okay.
We gotta.
Okay. I'll eventually do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
she had found a school in Edinburgh
Oh, okay. Okay.
and was kind of looking into that. So we were like, and then
Right.
she kind
Right.
of found out that there's too many prerequisites, maybe. And I was like, well, you got me all amped up to move to Scotland now. So she said,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah. Yeah.
prerequisite.
Well, you can always, I mean, fulfill the prereqs and then, so yeah, cool. You.
Yeah, we'll see what
Yeah.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess Tanea, Kimmerau,
Hamiski.
oh, Veluski, oh, Hami Dulik. I'm sorry. Kimmerahowski, Karsanahowski. Why are you tired? Karsan, why?
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And okay to add on television, Anamach, Rare? Were you watching television late last night?
No.
No.
Although I think what it might have been was I lost my math homework, so I had to redo it all last night, which was fun.
Oh no.
And then
Okay.
I had to read, of course. You can't skip reading, so
Yeah,
must
yeah.
have gone to bed late.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Okay. Bo Trang. All right. Okay. No, well.
Clàr.
Hamigama, Famisha Trang on Jew. Mia Cooper in a classic in Arkham. Okay, I was working on my classes, designing them as I was telling everybody. I got a little behind. And so today I had to, I usually like to finish it on the weekend, but I had to do my tomorrow night class today. So that kept me busy all day. And yeah, and then I was working on something else. I think I figured out a way to um do my Gaelic narration for the video I've been working on. So I actually did get the story I showed you a couple of weeks ago. I actually did get the an English version.
Oh,
Redid all the illustrations so they're consistent, relatively consistent, and then put an English narration on them. So so I'm kind of happy with that project.
nice. Which style of the images did you use?
Well, I used another one, but more along the
Oh,
lines of the
cool.
cartoon one. More along the lines of the cartoon
Nice.
one. Yeah. For I don't know if you remember a few weeks ago, I showed you Ri Esi Rui. Esi
Yes.
Rui. Okay. And that was more of a painterly style. And so I'm going to do that as a YouTube video, and I will use that style, the more painterly style for that, so I can shift between the different styles. But because of the nature of the story, I figured more the cartoon version
Yeah.
might be fun, might be fitting, more fitting. So anyway, well, yeah. So anyway,
Hmm.
cool.
Cool.
Yeah. So anyway, managed to keep myself busy. So anyway, uh, and then Tanea, I don't think you were with us last week, were you? You're not with me.
What did you do last week?
I forget.
I think Tanea was here.
Yeah, I think so too.
Didn't we do
We did past tense.
our repeat of past tense? Yeah, we did our
Yeah.
exercises.
Oh, okay.
The
Well, then I
irregulars.
talked about what I'm getting at is I talked about conversation sessions over the summer, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Haven't made definite plans, like what day and whatnot, but but that seems to be going forward. So I'll let everybody know how that works, and and that'll be totally open, not structured, except on a week by week basis. I'll send out prompts and topics and stuff like that. So, so everybody can prepare, so get us a little practice on talking. Okay. And then also, something also, the there's a conference, an online conference I'm going to be attending in a couple of weeks, about advancing Gaelic and using media. Okay, so so I'm just planting this seed in your heads right now. If you have any ideas about how to do that, it's kind of they have kind of an open-ended question, so but if you have any ideas what might be done to further Gaelic, let's see, focus on how Gaelic can be advanced through technology and where the roadblocks to using Gaelic through technology continue to impede progress. Okay, so anyway, so using technology, somewhat like what we're doing. I've got two ideas, one of which I'm just starting to work on, which is Gaelic media. Okay, I get Gaelic media, more and more Gaelic media. And there's some stuff on YouTube already, but employ YouTube to do stuff like what I'm doing with the folktales. But also, something I hear repeatedly from learners or people who want to learn, especially in forums, is the lack of conversational opportunities in Gaelic. So, and of course, we'll have an opportunity to test that, test how that can be done over the summer, when we'll concentrate, on Clàr, on conversation, on Brian speaking. Okay, so, but those are two main ideas that I have. I mean, to build a speaking Gaelic community online. But if you guys can come up with any other ideas how to employ technology, because one of the things that's I noticed a long time ago. The irony is that from the beginning of the 1900s, and especially, post 1930, 1940, it was technology. Technology was one of the instruments of the demise of Gaelic. The inroads of English language technology, radio, and then television, of course. So. And there wasn't much, there's a little teeny weeny bit of Gaelic media, but not that much. So it was technology that was at least partly instrumental, maybe mainly instrumental in the demise, in the decline of the use of Gaelic. The irony is that today with the internet, technology might be the answer to the spread of Gaelic, if properly employed, because technology has gone from being broadband broadcasting, the same thing to everybody, to narrowcasting, which is, people get to select what it is that they want, and you can have, media that targets very small audiences. I mean, at one time, in the whole United States, you had 3 television stations, 3 television networks, right? And everybody had to watch the same program. Millions of people had to watch the same program. So, nowadays you've got thousands of programs. You can kind of construct your own. So anyway, a couple ideas I have, but I'll ask you guys to just kind of let that seed lay, and gestate, and maybe we'll come back to the topic next week and see if you have any ideas. Okay. Yeah, and do you have your hand up, Ian?
Yeah, this is something that I don't know if this actually fits under the banner of what this this I think you call it a conference is circling around. But one thing that I've looked for online and have not yet found is pretty closely related to what you're saying about conversational Gaelic.
Is what? I'm sorry?
Sorry. So I've looked for something online like a vlog, like a video blog of someone just kind of going about their day, doing what they do, but speaking in Gaelic. This is very common in a whole host of other like hobby areas and language areas and domains. Like you just get people online with a video blog. It's not necessarily I'm going to teach you Gaelic, and it might be themed around something, it might not be, but just like a casual person going about their day speaking would be really, really useful. And I haven't found that yet. Because I think that whenever I go, and there might be something out there, but whenever I go online to look for videos of people speaking Gaelic, just casually to get a sense of what it sounds like and what the flow is, I see a lot of how to learn Gaelic videos. And that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone just kind of speaking in it casually. So some of the material you send is really good for that, like the little videos on BBC Alba. But if there are more widely available, like vlogs, just on YouTube that were accessible or findable, that would be useful.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Now, so we find little short snippets. I mean, how to say good morning and stuff like that. But a blog, I mean, just somebody talking about their day or now I have sent a couple out, but they're very formally produced. Like what it's like to herd sheep on the Isle of Lewis or something like that, right? Like that?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I thought of.
There's one woman who has done this. I'm going to send her YouTube channel just because this is the only one I found. But this is like an example of the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Yeah, Kirsten. Okay.
She only put out like 2 videos and then she stopped, and this was a year ago. So I don't think she's going to make more, but it's this style of thing.
Hold on. Let me, so I'll share this. I'll play it and share it. Okay.
Agus is within YouTube ha mé in gematricht. Is get het in doach ha sin a garstichtum Chanile mar sin akin sa Gaelic. Sam fá go chuirteach seo is began.
Okay, yeah. So I see it. Yeah. Oh, and it's funny. And so I fast forward. I went to a part where she's saying, "Oh, they're very."
She's commenting on it. Yeah.
But yeah. And then the sound wasn't very good. But like you say, I mean, even that. I mean, there are only 3 of them. She only did 3 of them.
Yeah, I saw the first one and then I went to her channel because I was so excited. I saw there were only 3 and I got so sad.
Have you followed Rhiannon? Is that her name? We've watched some videos of her. She like sings songs sometimes. Rhiannon McKinnon, is that her name? The really bright orange-haired lady that sometimes sings songs
I'll
that
look
we've
into
watched.
that. Yeah.
Because she does stuff like that. She'll be like, I'm going to go get my hair done today. And then she'll like go get her hair dyed and she's speaking Gaelic. And she also does like Gaelic word of the day and like songs and stuff like that. The wide variety of stuff. But some of it is what you're talking about.
Cool. Thank you. I'll check that out.
Yeah. Okay. So now, would you be thinking about things with that kind of production value, or just sitting and talking, or?
I mean, there's a lot of vlogs vary in terms of how heavily produced they are. A lot of times it's just someone doing it, so it's their own capacity to put together videos and edit and
right. Yeah.
Again, they're not often very like necessarily directed around a theme. A lot of times just someone going about their day, but it could be someone doing like a vlog about books or about thrifting or whatever, gardening. And so it's really like you get a lot of individuals of varying skill levels and putting together digital products doing these
Uh-huh.
things. So it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
very heavily produced.
Yeah.
It's very informal.
Well, probably anything. I mean, from one end of the scale to the other. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Chùil.
Her name is Lauren Rhiannon. I'll put it in the chat right now. So there.
What's that? Oh,
Her
okay.
name is Lauren Rhiannon, and that's her link in the chat.
Okay. Good. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. Oh, okay. Wait. Got to go back to Zoom. I'll share this. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Rhiannon. Okay.
Gael-Talk minute. That is all of the sleep that I had last night. Agus ní sé fé me na dalchan fust ad. I feel as though today is going to be an absolutely manic day, just run on absolute delirium and probably a lot of caffeine, and the two of those mixed together, not good. It's currently around 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'm nervous.
Okay. Yeah. So I see. Normal day, my life vlog.
I don't know how to wallpaper, so that's going to be a learning curve, but I kind of already feel like I'm going to catch the bug and I'm going to want to do it in every room. Also, this is such a first world problem, but Kasha have his application agus ha mi géirí mints. Fanneocht is heicme bhfuil mé géirí me bolognese, tá mints is bin tata, ha mi géirí rútcin mint. Channeocht me le bhanach no in the
Okay. Yeah. So she mixes a little Gaelic in with the English, and yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's sort of a day in the life. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then she's the one that does the word of the day too, right?
Yeah, and sometimes sing-alongs.
All right. Okay. All right. Something to think about. Okay. I'll put that on the list. Okay. Just even informal vlogs. Okay. All right. Gleba. Okay. Any other points of interest? No? Okay. No. Let's get started.
All right.
I'm going to share the screen. Okay. Where are we? Oh, no, where is everything? Where'd all my... I have too many windows open? Is that what's going on? I don't know. Okay, well, here we go. All right. Yeah. Okay. Gael-Talk. Bianna Hun, class. It's a Jeff. 20 and 10. Okay. And this week's piper, Yunsi of Blàr Chùil. Okay, we're going to stay on Culloden. Okay. We have another dynamic picture of a piper leading the charge. Okay. And our usual boilerplate. Okay. Fàilte, Seanfhacal, grammar, future tense of the regular verb. Okay, we're gonna go into the simple future. Blàr Chùil. Okay. Okay, we'll actually look at the actual battle. Okay. An Òran, a fun little song, class notes. Okay, all right. So Fàilte, this would be about the Seachdaine.
He still believes in little creatures with wings. You make me sad. What have I been doing here for the last 2 years if you still think that fairies are little creatures with wings? I'm going to tell you a little bit about fairies in Scottish mythology. First of all, they're not little. They're the same size as people. Secondly, they don't have wings. And thirdly, they're not nice and magical. They're magical, but they're not nice. If you're thinking of Tinkerbell, think again. So the fairies of Scottish mythology are called Seachdaine, or she. That's pronounced she, not Sith. They're not dark lords, do not have force powers. It's tempting to think of them as evil. They're not evil. They're spirits of nature. They're no more evil than, say, a storm is evil. You know, they can hurt people, they can cause real problems, but it's their nature. So you need to treat them with respect, just like you treat nature with respect. In Scottish folklore, the Sgeulachd were just accepted to be a thing that was around, and you would pay proper respect to them through rituals and routines. Typically, they live in fairy mounds, conical-shaped hills, and they were most powerful on Fridays. Sgeulachd dress in green, and their clothes are often very creased. They don't wear shoes, and most kind of Sgeulachd are allergic to iron. Iron's your best bet. Won't help you with all of them, but it will with most. Now, there's various ways to interpret the meaning of the word Sgeulachd. She could mean peace, which would make the Sgeulachd the people of peace. This is a way not to offend them. Same way you might hear fairies called good neighbours. But another, and I think better explanation, is that she means still. That would make them the still people. Now, I like that because apparently the Sgeulachd didn't make any noise. You'd only see them if they wanted you to, or if you had the second sight. So there could be Sgeulachd all around you, and you'd never know unless they wanted you to. They're so still and so silent that they're invisible. Sgeulachd will take things from you if you're not grateful for them. So if you have something good and you don't treat it with proper gratitude and respect, the fairies will think, well, you don't really want it, so I can have it. They're also terrible stealers of babies, taking children or mothers that have just given birth and stealing them away to fairyland to be replaced with a changeling. Changeling mythology is complicated, and I'll go into it at a different time. Fairies also take other things, but not in the way you might expect. Fairies will steal cattle, but they won't actually take the cow. They'll take its torug, the essence of the cow, leaving you with a listless cow that won't give milk, whilst all the milk is in fairyland. They do the same thing to dogs and even people. In fact, an early term for what was probably depression was being elf-shot. In Scottish folklore, the term elf and fairy are interchangeable. If you're talking about the Sgeulachd, there's a blessing you should do beforehand. It's Fianachdan nan Turasan agus nan imok, hai de hunya halanju agus hachlun iad shin. Blessings on their travels and their departures. Today is not Friday and they will not hear us. Obviously, this blessing only works if it's not Friday. It's best not to talk about the Sgeulachd at all if it is Friday. There you have it. Fairies are not tiny people with wings. They're not evil, but they're definitely something to be aware of. And if you
Okay. All right. So there you go. Okay. So be wary of the Sgeulachd. Okay. And there were injunctions in the Gael-Talk about doing certain things on Fridays. You know, when the Sgeulachd were about. Okay, so, but so. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Me. All right. Okay. Okay. Shenachon na Shechna. Okay. Hachik on a vuk ach urkenen. Hachik on a vuk ach urkenen. Nothing comes from the pig but piglets. Okay. Hachik on a vuk ach urkenen. So hachik will not come. Onavuk, that is from the pig, ach urkenen. Okay, but piglets. Okay, and I have a little write up here. So there's a tendency in Gaelic culture and even Scottish culture to categorize. Okay, and sometimes to make judgments according to categories, you know, what clan you're from, you know, so, and which, or, you know, unfortunately, you know, what religion you are, and, you know, and, which has led to quite a bit of religious strife and not only in Scotland, but in Britain. I mean, you know, the Catholics versus the Protestants, for instance. Okay, which can lead to, you know, not evaluating somebody according to who they really are, but according to their clan, for instance. Okay. You know, so anyway, but so it can lead to negative stereotyping. Okay. Anyway, but on the other hand, it can be a protective against well, if a con man has gone around conning people, that that the next dealing he is making very likely be a con, so hat chick onvuch ak urkenen. So we have to so I think it's a valid proverb. We just have to be careful about it, careful how we apply it. So anyway, but it's a fun little proverb. Okay. Anyway, all right. Okay. All right. Okay. Grammar Seachdaine. The future tense of the regular verb. Okay. All right. So, and I am going to pause here for 1 second. Okay. And I will just ask you, I've got a couple things lined up for the next few weeks. And as I said, sometime in June, we'll be breaking for the summer. But if there's anything, something else for you to think about, another homework assignment is what you would like to me to go back over to cover that we haven't covered, things you would like explanations for, a follow-up for, anything. I mean, so last couple of weeks we'll throw open the requests. Okay. Okay. All right. So go back to share. Okay. But tonight we're going to do the future tense of the regular verb. Now, what we have been doing is things like be me a dole, I will be going. We've been using that to mean I will go. Or be me a conic, be ekvu, I will be buying, or I will buy food at the store. Be me a snav amarach an loch, I will be swimming, or I will swim tomorrow in the loch. And so, okay, so we've been using the be me or be plus the verbal noun to serve us as the future tense. And it is a future tense. But like the majority of the but like I have for the translations here, it is very much akin to the progressive in English. I will be doing something. I will be buying food. I will be swimming. Okay. All right. So anyway, and the thing to notice too is comparison with English. English does not have a simple present tense. English requires the use of what we call a helping verb. Okay, I will go, I will sing, I will dance. Okay, and of course you can also use the progressive. I will be going, I will be singing, I will be dancing. But Gaelic has a true future tense. Okay, and that's what we're going to be learning. It's an inflection of the root verb to create the true future tense, which we translate into English as what we call the future, but it's still a little bit different. Okay, so okay. What we mean by a true future tense is that the verb expresses the future without relying on a helping verb. Okay, just like these are helping verbs. Did help, was helping, and like I said, will help. Okay. We can also express the past in a pure past tense, helped. Okay. In English, we don't have anything similar for the future tense. We don't have a corollary to the past tense, helped. And Gaelic, we do. Okay, so, and here it is. So say we start with the root verb snav. Okay, if we add either aidh or idh to the end of the root, and that depends, we end up with snavi, which translates as will swim in one word. And that's what we mean by a true future tense, snavi. I will swim, snavi me. Okay. So, and what we add, whether it's an IDH or an AIDH, depends on if the last vowel is broad, we add the AIDH. If it is narrow, we add the IDH. And so I have some examples here for you. So dusk is the root verb. Duski me, I will wake. Duski. So notice the I corresponds with the slender vowel. Or erich, rise or get up. Okay. Erchimi. So note we have slender to slender. Okay. I will get up. Kurd, to put. Okay. Again, we have kurimi, I will put. Or fag, to leave. Fakimi, okay, I will leave. Okay, so note the broad to broad. The A, O, and U are broad vowels. Okay, and that's when we use the broad vowel for the suffix. Okay, to form the future tense. Snav, snavi me. Okay, broad A, and so we lead with the broad vowel on the suffix. And that's how simple it is. Okay. That's all it is. Okay. Okay. So the mystery solved. I mean, that's how you form the simple future tense, which doesn't mean that we don't continue to use, I'm going to go back up here, the be me a dole, be me a cownic, and be me a snav. Okay. We can still use those. Okay. But sometimes it's more appropriate to use the future tense, okay, the simple future tense. Okay, so, and a little reminder, narrow and slender, I and E, and the broad A, O, and U, okay? And so from that we get the rule, okay, slender to slender, broad to broad, okay, in terms of vowels. Okay, so, and this is a rule that holds true throughout almost all of Gaelic. Once in a while you'll find an exception, but that's very seldom. On either side of a consonant or a consonant cluster, you will find the spelling is very regular. Okay, if the letter on the I guess the left side of the consonant, like right here, is broad, the first vowel, I mean not letter but vowel, the first vowel on the opposite side has to be broad as well. And the same up here, if the last vowel before the consonant is slender, the first vowel on the opposite side has to be slender as well. Okay, slender to slender, broad to broad. Okay, and that's as close to an absolute rule as we have. Okay, in Gaelic. Okay, so now there are a few regular verbs, and I'll emphasize few. Okay, that contract the last syllable for the future tense. So you have a contraction. So cacho, to sleep for English, is cachly. Okay, not cachly. Okay, not cachly. Let me expand that. Okay, freckershed is freckery, not freckery. Okay, it's not freckershed, it's frecker. Okay, is frecker, not freckery. Okay, freckery. You know, so you have a little bit of contraction. Not inch is inchy, not inishi. Okay, so sometimes if you have a little, you have a contraction. Okay, there aren't a lot of these, but you should be able to recognize them when you read them, and you will probably recognize them after a while as you say them or write them. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So we do have some exercises. Okay. We have a few minutes that we can spend doing some exercises. So, and I do have I don't know what happened to my, oh, I had something here. I have too many windows open is what I do, I think. All right, where is it? Okay. All right, okay. All right, where are we? Oh, yeah, okay, okay. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, so let's try this, okay? All right, so I'm sure recheck. Time to come, that is the future. Okay? Grieverin, real check. Okay, regular verbs, grieverin. Grieve means something like a business or activity. So, the verbs, griever, okay, and real check, regular. Okay. And so a little reminder how the simple future is formed. Take the root, and it's also the command form of the verb. Okay. So again, this is just the root. I mean, when you look the word up in the dictionary, it's the word that's right there in front. I mean, so if you want to say leave, what's the word for leave? It's fog. Okay. And that's the root, but it's also the root of the future tense. So fagi. Okay. Okay. If the last vowel is A, O, or U, that's broad. You add A-I-D-H. So remember, very simple to remember, broad to broad. Okay. If the last vowel is narrow, E or I, you add I-D-H. Okay. Narrow to narrow. Okay. Slender to slender. And then there's a few contractions. Okay. All right. So fog becomes faki. Koshik becomes koshiki. Kur becomes kuri. Dusk becomes dusky. All right. Okay. All right. So what do we got now? Okay. So give the future tense of this verb. So achik would be what?
Edechi.
What's that?
Would it be Edechi with an I-I-D-H?
Achiki.
Achiki.
Achiki. Yeah.
Oh,
Achik.
there. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Achiki. Flavor. Right? Untich.
Untihi.
Untiki. Yeah. These can go real fast. I mean, what's the key? You add key E at the end. Okay. Untiki. Okay. At.
Atach.
Ati.
Atich. Oh, so
Ati.
there's no difference in the sound of the AI or the I?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. They're both the same. Now, this difference is only in the spelling. Okay. And then, Ian, did you have your hand up?
I was going to ask the same things today. I was going to ask if they were pronounced differently. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Aharich.
Aharihi.
Aharihi. Aharihi. Yeah. See?
Aharihi.
Yeah. Aharihi. Bak.
Baki.
Baki. Very good. Baki. Basi.
Bosnich.
Basiki. Very good. Okay. Basiki. Beach.
Beachy.
Beachy. I heard very faintly in the background there. Beachy. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Blythe.
Blahi.
Blythe. Yeah. Okay. Brape.
Rapey.
Brapey. Very good. Brish.
Brishy.
Brishy. Yeah. Brishy. Yeah. Bruter.
Bruteri.
Brutery. Yeah. Flavor. Brook.
Brookty?
Brookie, yeah. Okay.
Brookie? Okay.
Bill,
So
yeah.
you swallowed the D a little
Brookie.
bit on that last one?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you sort of swallow the D on that one a little bit? Is it like
Swallow
Brookie?
which?
Oh, I see.
Brookie.
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 Okay.
Brookie.
Okay.
Brookie. Brookie. Yeah. Okay. Brookie. Yeah. Right. Okay. Bill.
Burly.
Bewley. Uh-huh.
Burly.
Yeah. 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 Bewley. Buin. Buin.
Booney?
Buny. Uh-huh. Bunic.
Bunicky.
Bunicky. Uh-huh. Cock.
Cocky.
Cocky. Yeah. Okay. Cotchel.
Crotchety.
Cotchley or Cotchley. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. Kyle.
Kylie.
Kylie. Okay. Car.
Coddy.
Kari. Uh-huh. Kai.
Cahi.
Kai. Uh-huh. Clever. Con.
Connie.
Connie. Kirchel.
Burly.
Kirchli. Yeah. And this is the kind of the polite form of to die. This is the form that we usually use for people. And the equivalent in English might be something like to pass away, something like that. Okay. All right. Kuhn. Kuhn.
Rooney.
Uni.
Jenny.
Liver. Cowl.
Connolly.
Ollie.
Cowley. Counic.
Cownicky.
Cownicky. Liver. Came.
Cammy.
Camey. Yeah. Keelich.
Keelichy.
Keelichy. Cleich.
Clyachich.
Cleichy. Clàr.
Clary.
Clary. Click.
Lucky.
Clechy. Oh, where are we? One or two. Okay. Cleich.
Cluachy.
Cleichy. Clever. And Cleich.
Cluicky.
Cleichy. Yeah. Krav.
Clavi.
Kravi.
Kravi.
And yeah, Kravi. And I've mentioned this before, the CN is sounds like a CR. We pronounce it like a CR, Krav, okay, not Knav, okay, but Krav, Kravi, right? Kokerich,
Pokerichi.
Kokerichi, Gleva. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, and Koyun, yeah, Koyuni, okay, yeah, so the answers are showing up now. So anyway, so yeah, but anyway, okay, all right, okay. All right, so I'm going to stop the share for just a moment. Okay, so now in the text that I sent you, there is a whole list of words. Okay, a table that you can use to fill out and practice this. But you see, it's very simple. Unlike unfortunately, unlike a bunch of many other things in Gaelic, this is very simple. Okay, so any questions? Any questions about this?
I had one question. I was curious, how would we know when it's like appropriate to use the simple future tense as opposed to using be as a helping verb as we have been doing?
Okay. One is, what would you use in English? I mean, so do you mean to say I will be doing something, or I will do? I mean, we don't have a simple future, but yeah. Uh, uh, but if it'd be more appropriate in English to say I will be doing this, okay, then you might use the verbal noun future, as you might call it. Both forms of the future, be me a dole, H me. Well, haven't gotten to the irregular. Next week I'll cover the irregular verbs, and as with the past tense, there's 10 of those. But anyway, but uh, uh, both tenses of the future can also indicate not only the future but also the continual present. Okay, But anyway, but back to your question, there isn't a firm rule. It kind of has to do with the feeling that you want to convey. Okay, so it's kind of up to you, and sometimes you'll see people using them interchangeably. And I will say one other thing. I know, because you asked, what's the difference in pronunciation? Now, I did notice, I mean, since you asked that, and I hadn't paid attention to it before, but I actually do pronounce them a little bit different. The let's go back to this. Okay. Oh, I'm trying to call up my PowerPoint, and it's not. Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the share. And it's a very subtle difference. Okay. So right here, Dhachaigh. Okay. So what I found myself doing when I was paying attention is can you see me in a little window?
Yes, we could see you in the pane on the right.
Okay, good. Okay, so when I do this, I go Dhachaigh. Okay, I kind of bring it back, Dhachaigh. Okay, but okay, unti no ati. Okay, but when I say this ati, I kind of keep that sound at the front of the mouth, anti. So it sounds very similar, but there is a slight difference. Ati. So it's more to the front of the mouth. Aharihi. This would be more in the back. So they sound the same, I mean, to the English ear, but I realized when I was thinking about your question, Baki. Yeah, it's more at the front of the mouth. It's the same sound, but at the front of the mouth, which is very weird, very odd. And I didn't even realize I was doing that. Baki. So anyway, okay. So Sgeulachd. Good question. Made me realize I knew something I didn't know I knew. Okay. Anyway, okay. Does somebody else have a question or a hand up or something like that? Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Well, let's take a look at our next. All right. Okay. I'm going to close this. Let me just save this. Let's save this. And then want to, I think this is where I want to go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay. So this is a continuation of the, let me just stop the share for a moment. What I'm going to do now is a presentation on the continuation of the 45 Rebellion, which is the seminal period event in Gaelic history. And and I dwell on it not because I'm fascinated with military history, because there's probably only one other battle that I would talk about, and that would be the Battle of Bannockburn. Okay, but which is a great victory for Scotland, 400 years before. But but I dwell on Culloden because it's fascinating, just about what happened, what was, what could have been. Okay, but anyway, um, and because it is so seminal in Gaelic history. But anyway, so here I will talk about the battle itself. Okay, so last week we talked about what ran up to the battle, the whole 45, what's called the 45 Rebellion. Um, but it's interesting, even that, uh, uh, even that name betrays prejudice, a bias. From the standpoint of the Gaels, it was not a rebellion. Okay, they were fighting for the rightful king. So anyway, it was a righteous struggle. But of course, the people on the other side say, "Oh, you're rebelling against us," because we're right. So, but anyway, okay. But I will talk about the actual battle, not at great length, but some aspects of it that I think are most interesting. So anyway, all right. So anyway, all right. So let's go. Share screen. Okay. On Blàr Culloder. Okay. Okay. The Battle of Culloden Moor. Okay. All right. And that's from an old picture. Okay. Showing the charge of the Highlanders against the Redcoats. Okay. The end result of the battle was the destruction of Gaeldom, as it was known BC, before Culloden. Okay. And when you do get a chance to go to Scotland, you have to visit the memorial at Culloden, and you still see these old stones, these memorial stones that are set in various places on the battlefield. And there's this wonderful visitor center at just actually a small building, okay, but it has historical artifacts in it. Okay. The outcome of the battle was not a foregone conclusion, and it did not have to turn out as it did. Okay, so even though it was very short. There were 5 chances squandered, maybe squandered is the wrong word, but missed. There's a failed night march, a bad location for a battleground, indecisive command, the retreat, the Highland army was under strength, and there's feuding and rivalry amongst the clans. So it was not a foregone conclusion how the battle would turn out. The failed night march, and this is one of the more exciting aspects of what if. The Highland Army had several times before succeeded in its battles by surprising the enemy, doing something like a night march, sneaking up on them, taking a little known tracks, sheep trails, okay, to get at the rear of the enemy. And so the plan was to attack the enemy at dawn. And they marched all night. And to some extent, they got lost. And they lost some time, and then several of the leaders decided that it was too late and they shouldn't go forward. So the army returned exhausted, bedraggled, cold, and unfed. And many of the Highlanders collapsed from weariness and went to sleep by the side of the road. So they, and then remember, this is an army, a group of people who had been on the march for more than a month since they turned around in England and retreated back to Scotland. So so they were well tired by this time. But it was a plan to attack the enemy at dawn, and that was Prince Charles' plan. Okay, and when it was starting to get lit, what do you say, early in the morning, approaching dawn, and they still had a couple miles to go, his generals decided the best idea would be to retreat and not carry out the attack because they'd be too late. And Charles himself went to the front of the battle line and offered to lead the attack himself. He drew his sword and said, "I'll lead you," but he was overruled. Okay, so he was, throughout this whole affair, not only the battle, but the whole rebellion, he was not an absolute ruler. He depended on the advice and cooperation of the various clans and the clan chiefs. It was Lord George Murray who proposed a day march and a night attack while the government soldiers were sleeping off a drunk from celebrating the Duke of Cumberland's birthday. The Duke of Cumberland was the leader of the English army, of the government army. Okay, so and they had gotten drunk the night before, and the idea was if we sneak up on them, we attack them, and we overwhelm them. After they returned to Culloden, they found themselves in a bad location. George Murray, one of the generals, called, "I did not like the ground. It was certainly not proper for Highlanders." Okay. The scouts were sent out to find a better field because where you fight a battle is not, it's not mandatory to be here or there. People choose where to fight. Okay. But the Prince and Irish advice were set on Culloden, but it was a bad location. The ground was swampy and flat. It was diverted. That is, the swamp you see right here diverted the charge. And this is my personal note. Several years ago, I walked the field, and it was overgrown in parts with knee-high and thigh-high heather. That is bushes. So the Highlanders, who depended on the swiftness and the fierceness of their attack, had to jump through, knee-high plants, so which further slowed them down. And they didn't prepare the field properly, even as it was. So right here, this circle here, this is a wall. Okay, they neglected to pull it down, and government soldiers hid behind the wall and fired at the flank of the Highland charge. Okay, and that wall still stands. So that was a big mistake. The Highland charge. The Highland charge is always shown as being across a flat, low-cut, grassy field, like across a football field. But battlefields were actually carefully chosen to give attackers, in this case the Highlanders, a hill to run down. The Highlanders always, position themselves at the top of some sort of a hill that would give them momentum. as they charged, accelerated the velocity and impact of the attack. Here I have a little drawing. Okay. The Highlanders charging down the hill, right? Okay. Makes them go faster. This was a poor field for the Highland charge. This field was flat. It was not like this, okay, as is often depicted, and certainly not mown like or mowed like a football field. Okay, like I said, you had knee-high heather in some parts. Two other special attributes of the Highland attack. You see, so the Highland charge, which was very successful in many aspects and often referred to as the fearsome Highland charge, was not just a mindless frontal assault. Besides choosing the time and place carefully when the battle commenced, they would bait the enemy to expend their ammunition. They would advance, throw themselves down on the grass to avoid the first volley of shots, and then rise and attack. And so that was very carefully planned. They'd bait the enemy, because remember, these are muskets that the enemy is loading, right? It takes half a minute or a minute to reload the musket. So after the first charge, after the first, volley of shots, there's, there's an opportune time to attack. The Highlanders were so effective in their attacks that they would often charge cavalry, unheard of at the time for foot soldiers. Okay, cavalry were literally the shock troops. They're fast and big, kind of equivalent to a tank corps. You're riding 1,000-pound animal. A soldier is riding 1,000-pound animal, and that's a considerable amount of force. The Highlanders missed an opportunity to attack. They stood with, quote, bitter wind and sleet in their faces for more than an hour, absorbing the shelling of the government guns. Okay. Lord George Murray had argued for an attack while government troops were still setting up, because it took them time to set up the cannons. And some people wanted to attack immediately. Okay. Oh, I don't know if you can see this. Okay. No. Okay. Okay. But, oops. The top line is cut off, but anyway, but the messenger was killed before he could deliver. That is, before he could deliver the order to attack. They sent out a rider on a horse to deliver the message to attack, but he was killed. Prince Charles was offered a plan to retreat into the mountains, to refresh his army and possibly wage guerrilla warfare. But he refused. My Highlanders will not fail me. He had a lot of faith in the Highland army. The Highland army was under strength. Some clans were away. They were making raids for supplies they hadn't eaten. Some had returned home, and some feared the Campbells, their arch enemies who were fighting for the government, would raid their homes when they weren't there. The men thought that their families were in danger, thought that the Campbells would attack their homes. New recruits weren't coming in. Men had not been fed for days, maybe eating just a biscuit each a day. They had endured long marches all the way up from England. And after the failed night march, they were bitter, confused, exhausted, and angry. An observer noted how each man's face was twisted with rage and despair. And there were feuds between the clans. Since the days of Robert the Bruce, MacDonald's held a position of honor on the right side of battle. But seeking to balance competing claims, Charles had clans draw lots for place of honor, and the MacDonalds lost and were positioned on the left side. So you see, right here in the circle is where the MacDonalds ended up, on the left side. They did not like that. And right here on the right side, with the Stuarts of Appin, Camerons of Lochiel, and Athol, they were on the right side, the place of honor. The MacDonalds didn't like that. And thus Culloden, condition of the battlefield and troops was poor. The field was flat. High heather covered much of the field. So here you have a look at the heather. Okay, it was a bad choice for a Highland charge. The Highlanders were exhausted, hungry, not ready for battle. Leadership was divided and unfocused. And no Chief of Clan Fraser noted that none but a mad fool would have fought that day. Yeah. Thus, in the end, the Bonnie Prince fled the battlefield. Much is made of his escape in legend and song. For several months, he was hiding in the Highlands, going from place to place, sometimes not sleeping at the same place 2 nights in a row. He lived in the mountains and Highland caves for several months as he hid from government troops. There were vicious rumors about him before and after Culloden, for instance, that he was drunk most of the time. But in all likelihood, these were just lies and exaggerations by enemies and those trying to shift the blame to cleanse their own record. Okay? So a lot of people then and after the fact, or immediately after the fact, and historically have tried to blame Charles for everything that happened. Okay, and these are likely not true or exaggerations. Okay. He was aided in his escape by Flora MacDonald, the famous Flora MacDonald. He disguised himself as an Irish maid, Betty Burke, and sailed away into history. So here he is disguised as Betty Burke under the eyes of the redcoats. And while Butcher Cumberland, the Duke of Cumberland, cousin to the King George II, ordered the murder of Highlanders after the battle, even those who surrendered. And the Highlanders who pledged themselves to the cause were hunted down and either murdered summarily, that is on the spot, or executed after a short show trial. And this is a painting called Rebel Hunting, the hunt for Jacobites in the days that followed Culloden. Many Scots were deported to the colonies. And meanwhile, the Bonnie Prince lived out his life in Italy, defeated and sad, and finally married to a woman 32 years younger than he was, which, to be fair, wasn't all that unusual in the 1700s. Okay? Anyway. All right. Okay. There we go. Okay, so that's a little history of the actual battle. Okay. Any comments or questions about that? No? Okay.
I had a question.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you knew if the MacDougalls were in the fight or not.
If what?
If the MacDougalls were involved in the fight, they were a clan.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, there is a one of these crude stone monuments marking the burial place of the MacDougalls at the Battle of Culloden. So anyway, yeah, so they were there.
Cool.
Anyway, so let me do this. I want to go back to my, where am I? Okay, I want to go back to okay, all right, okay. So now this is something that I threw together, playing around with some aids. You see, where are we? Okay, right here. Okay. Okay. So can you see the screen here, the real Bonnie Prince Charlie?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is an answer to the charges that Charlie was a lazy drunk. Okay. All right. So anyway.
We all think we know the story of Bonnie Prince Charlie. But what if I told you that the romantic legend and that dismissive stereotype are both kind of wrong? Today, we're going to push past the myths and actually look at the man through the eyes of the people who were right there beside him. I mean, you know the popular image, right? This handsome but ultimately doomed hero. A romantic failure who, let's be honest, wasn't much good when things got tough, and who eventually just drank himself into oblivion. That's the caricature we're always sold. But here's the thing. When you start digging into the firsthand accounts from the people who were actually there, a completely different person starts to emerge. So the big question is, does that old stereotype actually hold up? So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at that caricature and our main source of evidence. Then we'll see him in action as a commander on the battlefield and, well, as a pretty resourceful fugitive on the run. And finally, we'll pull it all together to see the real man behind the myth. Okay, so where is all this evidence coming from? Well, our main source is this incredible collection of first-hand Jacobite testimony. It's called The Lion in Mourning. And this right here is where the story gets really, really interesting. Now, it's really important to know this is a Jacobite collection. So yeah, it's sympathetic to the cause, but we shouldn't just dismiss it because of that. In fact, that's what makes it so valuable. It preserves these raw, unfiltered memories of how he acted under the most extreme pressure from the very people who marched with him, hid with him, and even ate with him. And right away, this testimony just completely challenges that stereotype. I mean, take Captain O'Neill's journal. He says Charles was cautious when in the greatest danger, never at a loss in resolving what to do. That does not sound like a guy who was not much use under pressure, does it? Okay, so let's jump into the 1745 campaign itself. The evidence we have from this time paints a picture not of some decorative figurehead just being carried along by events, but of a really active, decisive leader who is driving the action forward. And it's the little details that really bring this to life. When his convoy got damaged right at the start, others wanted to go home. He flat out refused. Before a night attack, he was the one pushing for it, saying, "Not a moment to be lost." His stamina was just legendary. The guy walked 16 miles, lost the heel of his boot, and was still moving so fast, the Highlanders were worried he'd wear them out. And right from his first night, he was looking after his guys, making sure the most exhausted soldiers had beds, and even checking them himself. And get this, at Narn, when some of the chiefs were hesitating, Charles didn't just sit back. No, he went right to the front of the column, laid out the strategy in what one account called the most pathetic and strong terms, and then offered to lead.
Okay, so two things. Nairn is the night battle, the location close to Culloden. So they're talking about the night battle there. And when the quote is pathetic and strong terms, that's an old use of the word pathetic, which means emotional. Okay, and the strongest, most emotional terms. Right?
To charge himself. This was a man who was running his own campaign. Of course, after the devastating defeat at Culloden, a whole different set of skills was needed. It wasn't about leading an army anymore. It was all about survival intelligence. And here again, the eyewitness accounts show a man who was incredibly quick on his feet. He was a fugitive now, being hunted all across the rugged highlands and islands. Just look at the terrain on this map. There was absolutely no room for error. Survival meant you had to constantly adapt and think on your feet, second by second. And the accounts are just full of these moments. In one story, a guy recognizes him but tries to cover for him on the spot, calling him Dougal Macoloni. Charles instantly gets the hint and just plays along. Another time, someone warns him not to look too refined drinking from a rough cup because it might give him away. His response? "You are right," and he drinks from it immediately. This is a guy who is processing information and reacting in real time. And his endurance through all of this was, well, it was just extraordinary. Surviving in this kind of landscape wasn't just about being physically tough. It took immense psychological resilience. And the stories from his time on the run show a guy who stayed steady and clear-headed, even when fear and exhaustion were basically his constant companions. And he wasn't kidding himself about what he was going through. He actually remarked at one point that since Culloden, he had endured more than would kill 100. He knew exactly how extreme the situation was, and yet he just kept going. But, maybe the most striking things of all are the smaller, more personal stories that show us his character. These moments give us evidence of kindness, of gratitude, and a surprising amount of mercy. I mean, think about this. He's on the run for his life, and his companions suggest killing a suspected spy. Charles refuses, and his reason was crystal clear. God forbid that we should take any poor man's life while we can save our own. That is a remarkable display of mercy from a man with a massive price on his own head. He also constantly showed his gratitude, promising over and over that he would never forget the services my friends do me in distress. He noticed people, he remembered what they did, and he valued their loyalty. These aren't just grand political statements. They're the habits of a man who genuinely sees the people around him. So, when you put all this testimony together, what kind of man do you see? Not a shallow fool, that's for sure. You see someone with real courage who pushed for bold action and clear direction, a man of incredible endurance and self-command, and maybe most importantly, a man with a real sense of humanity, who noticed the tired, the ruined, and the vulnerable people all around him. So, does this prove he was some kind of flawless hero? Of course not. Nobody is. But it absolutely reveals that the familiar caricature we all know is just way too simple. Which leaves us with one last nagging question. How could a man who is remembered as a drunk and a fool have actually done all of these things?
Okay. Anyway, so there we go. Okay. The real Bonnie Prince Charlie. All right. Forgive me. Brings a tear to my eye. It chokes me up. Anyway. Okay. All right. So let's go on. I have a fun little song for us tonight. Okay. So if I can find my screen again. Okay. Okay. Òran. Okay. Let's go back to Zoom, to share. Okay. All right. Okay. So you can see the screen now, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the Oatly song. Okay. 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 A banya crwy mo stomach. A banya crwy mo stomach. Milk is hard on my stomach. Hor anol an Sgeulachd kirka. Okay, hor anol anul. Sorry, anul an Sgeulachd kirka. Okay, bring here the oat milk, literally the oat juice, but we would call it oat milk. Okay, okay. Ahoy hajen mi bramek. Ahoy hajen mi bramek. That never made me fart. Okay. Hor anul an Sgeulachd kirka. Bring here the oat milk. Is fua la gach mai naba. She, my stomach, the stomach, la, with her, okay, talking about my stomach, hates every dairy produce. Mai naba, gach mai naba. Okay, fua loa gach mai naba. O moruya, oh, woe is me. Mo stomach gorsht. My sore stomach. Uacher, rochak, im is kasha. Okay. Cream, uacher, rochak, ice cream. Im, butter, is kasha, and cheese. Ach, movenek, suren kirka. Okay. But my blessing on oat milk. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So that's the Oatly song, Òran an Tuin. Okay. All right. So let's try this. All right.
We cannot hear it.
Yeah, there's no audio.
What? I'm sorry?
There's no audio on our end.
Oh, okay. Wait. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now we
hear
hear it.
that now?
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes it it doesn't play instrumentals, but it plays the voice. So anyway, so I'll back it up, okay, and try to pick it up from where he starts singing. So let's try it again, okay? Oh, wait. No, I think I turned off share. So hold on. Okay, have to go back, and then I'll share again. Okay. One of these days I'll learn how to work this thing. Okay. All right. Okay. The boy in the crowd stomach, Toran Lulil, Sukan Karshin. Ahoy Katem, mi broma, Toran Lulem and Sukan Karshin. Is for the latter, Gach Mike Naba, Omotruike, Masama Gort, Wofta, Realita Guinness Kais, Ach Movanach Kersugan Karshin. The boy in the crowd stomach, Toran Lulem, Sukan Karshin. Ahoy Katem, mi broma, Toran Lulem and Sukan Karshin. It's wonderland, Gach Mike Naba, Omotruike, Masama Gort, Wofta, Realita Guinness Kais, Ach Movanach Kersugan Karshin. Okay, try one more time. A boy in the crowd stomach, for a little sukan coffee. A hoy katem mi broma, for a new man sukan coffee. Is for the latter, gach mike naba omotruike, Masama gort wofta, realita Guinness kais, ach movanach gesugan coffee. The boy in the crowd stomach, for a little sukan coffee. Ahoy katem mi broma, for a little sukan coffee. It's wonderland, Gach Mike Naba, Omotruike, Masama gort wofta, realita Guinness kais, ach movanach gesugan coffee. Okay, there we go. Okay, all right. Okay, okay. My naba, literally something like the goodness of the cow, the dairy produce. Okay, makes my stomach gorsht. I get off my stomach gorsht. Okay. Gorsht would be painful, hurt. Stomach, just like it sounds like. Okay, stomach. Okay, all right. Good leva. Okay, so any questions or last points or anything like that?
I had a couple questions.
Yeah.
First is my mom's birthday, so I was wondering, how do you say happy birthday?
Oh, okay. So collabre sonagut. Okay, so be let me type it into chat. Co la bre sonagut. Okay. Well, can you see it in the chat?
Yeah.
Collabre sonagut. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Okay. Collabre. Labre would be day of birth. Okay. And co is something like in English, co to along with. And so it's not the day of the birth, labre. It's the day that corresponds with the day of the birth. Okay. Collabre sona good. Sona would be happy. Okay. And gut would be to you. Do u. Okay. All right. There you go. All right. Okay.
Thanks. I was also wondering, we were talking about V, me, and then also the adding the AIDH or the IDH. I was wondering, like, what would be the direct translation for either of those into English? Like, what's the difference in how you phrase it? I forget. Like,
Well, yeah. The closest English comes is the will form. I will do. I will go. Okay.
for both
Okay.
of them? For both of them, or is there like a
Yeah,
slight
then
difference?
yes, for both of them. The only difference between them is they're identical. The only difference is, as you heard, the slight difference in pronunciation and the spelling, of course. Otherwise, they are identical.
Oh, I meant in between the Vimy and the other way we just learned.
Oh, B? Oh, be me a
Yeah.
dole. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Let me call up my class again. Okay. Yeah, so I'll write this out. Okay. Okay. All right. So anyway, be me a dole. Okay. Literally, I will be going. Okay. Okay. Yeah, well, H me, I will go, but not really. You see, because there is no form in English that corresponds with the simple future, okay? But that's as close as I can get to explaining them, okay? Be me a dole is very similar to I will be going. That we can say for sure. H me, or what do we say? Cotchley me, I will sleep. Not really, if English had a form, if English had a future tense equivalent to the past, that is the plus ed, walked, slept, etc., then that's what Cotchley would be. Okay?
Yeah. Thanks.
Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, Gleva. Okay, all right, okay. Oh, and since I'm on this page, here's some videos. Okay. Oh, and here's a final rendition of the English version of The Village of Fools. And then Speaking Our Language, Coping with Language Difficulties, and another immersion video. Okay. Anyway, and so some videos for you to watch. Okay, in the lesson. All right. Okay. Any other issues or questions? No, that's it. Okay. All right. Okay. Leva. Okay. So Himi Shiv on hechen. Tapaleva hula dunya. Tapaleva.
Taplev.
Tapaleva love.
Ohava.
Tapaleva
Love.
chashtin.
Chiri.
Cheery.